Tay, David, Jay, go.
Hey guys, welcome back Around the Drum. This is Pixel Pro Audio's weekly show, Unfiltered. I'm Tay, this is David, and that's Jay. We're going to be talking about some drum recording tips and tricks today. David, kind of where is this coming from?
Well, we get a lot of customers in the store asking about recording drums, what kind of microphones, what kind of kit, even what kind of heads.
Okay.
So we wanted to do an episode just on recording drums, and we can show this to people in the store, and hopefully you guys on YouTube can get use out of it too.
Yeah, we've got a lot of experience, both as drummers.
Yep.
I'm putting myself in that club. Both as drummers and as people who have recorded a lot of drums. Yeah. And so, for people who are just starting out, this is kind of a good video. And so we're going to do some things that other more advanced recording engineers might be interested in too. We've made lots of mistakes and had lots of trial and error, and so I think we have some things that will help people out.
Yeah, and if you're about to track and you're doing this, for the first time or second time or whatever, and you're just like, I don't know what's going on, maybe this will help you guys out. Just some things that you can easily do quickly.
There's no maybe about it. It's going to help them.
It's going to help them out. We got a viewer question from Kevin in Chicago. He says, I'm getting too much bleed in my snare and tom mics. What do you recommend to combat this? All right, so Jay, give us a couple right away.
Well, especially for people who are recording in their house, one of the things that I think is critical is isolating your drums from the room, because you don't have a good acoustic space most likely in your house. And so for one of the things that I would do, even in the studio, I used to work in a studio that had no dampening on the walls at all, intentionally. It actually had dampening all over, and it was completely dead. And then they wanted some live room reverb, so they took all the dampening off the walls. Wow. And then the room was very loud and reverby, which sounded great, but when you were trying to get those close, intimate moments, there'd just be way too much room sound in every single microphone.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we started building tents around, using packing blankets and even comforters, whatever you have, any sort of blanket, the thicker the better. Take some mic stands and just put them up into like a T shape, and then hang blankets around the drum kit. And you will be amazed at how much of a difference that makes. And then you can still, if you do have a good sounding acoustic space, like some people have cathedral ceilings and stuff, which can make for decent reverb.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Then you can put some room mics way far back, and you can still enjoy the natural room reverb sound, but also have good direct sounds on your drums.
Right.
I remember you doing that when you recorded me back in the day.
I almost always built a tent, just because it gave me much more control.
Yeah.
He used to call them forts back then. He liked to build forts.
I didn't build forts. They were fortresses.
All right, David, let's ping back to you here. What do you got?
Another way to get bleed out. I don't like the room sound either, so I did do the tent thing. I put moving blankets on my walls. But another really important thing I did was use hypercardioid mics on the toms and on the snare when I can. It just helps get the cymbals out of the direct mics a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
David, you have a tip about cymbals.
Yeah, so first thing you do, right when you're setting up the kit, is you've got to raise the cymbals as high as you possibly can away from the shells, because the closer they are, the more bleed you're going to get.
Yeah, and you're going to probably have a little bit of resistance from the drummer.
That's the thing I was going to say, is that only works if the drummer's okay with it. If the drummer's... And you got to make sure the drummer is really okay with it. There's the
people that say yes, okay,
yes,
sure.
And then they're like they can't play anymore, and then a worse situation.
A lot of times, without even looking, where a cymbal is, and if you go to hit that and you hit it low, it's that type of thing. So, but most of the time, drummers will be like, okay, I will try, and then they'll be more deliberate with their cymbal hits.
Sure, and
which is good.
This brings me to another one of my tips, which is start to work with your drummers before you're recording. So if you know you've got a client coming in a month, tell the drummer to raise his cymbals then. And practice that way, get used to playing it that way, because we're going to get a better recording if we do it that way. And along those lines is really work, especially with everybody, but drummers in particular, and say, really listen to your kit. Listen to how you're hitting your drums, because there are a few things that are going to make a bigger difference than having the drummer actually hit his drums in a way that makes the drum sound good.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that seems obvious, but it's not. A lot of drummers come in and they think you're the one that's going to make this sound good,
right?
And that's your job. But
right. That's not how it goes.
Yeah, you got to work with the drummer beforehand. So.
Yeah, a lot of studio guys tell drummers to mix themselves, and that just means don't like smash your hi-hat.
Yeah, that's another one of my tips. Don't smash. Tell them not to smash the hi-hat, please.
But it's our tempo setter.
Learn to play it a little lighter, please. If you would do that kindly.
I think I did it mixed. I hit, I do this little, thing, and then I hit.
You don't do that anymore?
No, I do that, but like, on the upstroke, you kind of hit the top. So you're like, and the top hit is actually sounds quieter than the actual hit on the, coming down. So, yeah, but I know you're right. Hitting it quieter sometimes is better, especially when you got that thing open. You're just like,
yeah, when you got it open and going like this, then it's like it's in every single microphone and everything's a mess.
David, did you have something to talk about dampening drums or not?
Yeah, so I don't like to dampen my drums when I record.
What does
them.
that mean?
That means like some people use moon gels, some people use duct tape, some people use E-rings. I don't like to do any of that on my drums because in the mix, it sounds brighter and more open. And if you've already got the dampening on there, it deadens the drum. It takes away some of that high end. So you've got to boost that high end, and then you get more cymbal bleed in there because you're boosting the high end.
But now he's better at tuning drums than I am.
Yeah, I was just going to say
so
that.
So it's like, for me, like I have to dampen because I play drums all the time, and I'm terrible at tuning.
So that's what this boils down to, is whether you're actually tuning the heads perfectly so they don't have those problems, and then you can record them better that way if they're nice and tuned. But otherwise, if you're, if you have a super ring on your snare drum that you just can't get rid of, dampening it, we'll get rid of that. Yeah. But now you're saying there's some sacrifice there with sound in the end.
Yeah, and on the snare, that's like the one that I will budge on a little bit, just because sometimes you cannot get that ring out.
That's true. For me, I'm purely thinking about snare here.
Yeah.
Like I really like to dampen my snare. I don't like a lot of ring.
Yeah, and what I like to do, I like to keep some of that ring in there just so it cuts through the mix a bit. Mm-hmm. But I like to put like half a moon gel on just the bad tuning peg lug that is causing it.
Okay, so I would think these are more advanced upper end kind of things.
Yeah. What I do is now that I've discovered hydraulic heads, for me that I use one of the Evans hydraulic heads on my snare.
What is that?
And it just has I think what it is it's 2 layers, and in between is hydraulic fluid.
Yeah. Some kind of oil, yeah.
Some type of oil or something. And so it's just naturally dampened.
Yeah.
And I love the way that sounds. It's like the perfect snare sound for me. Nice. And dead. Dead.
All right.
So let's get into maybe some mics. Do you guys have stuff about mics or tracking? Like, let's give some other tips here.
I like Audix.
No, we're not talking about mics themselves.
I like Audix too, don't get me wrong. But
no, so like positioning
sure.
or like...
One thing I like to try, it depends on the band, right? Like for all the metal stuff he's doing, this next tip of mine isn't going to work. But I like trying to use fewer mics. When you do that, especially when you're starting out, when you use fewer mics, well, look, people who are starting out don't understand phase cancellation and stuff like that.
That's true.
So using fewer mics eliminates a lot of those problems. And I've heard a lot of great drum sounds that have been recorded with just 3 mics. I've recorded some great drums with just 3 mics.
Yeah.
Where it's just 2 overheads and a kick drum mic, and that's it.
That was on him, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I recorded more than just him, but I really liked how that sounded.
Who are they?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Me and him.
Someone's getting jealous over here.
No.
I would never go into like a studio recording with a band and put 3 mics up. I mean, I would, but
maybe for jazz or something.
Right,
for something
situational
like that.
stuff.
But I record mostly rock and stuff, so I wouldn't do that in that situation, except for myself, because I'm willing to experiment.
Okay. So Tay, from a drummer's perspective, what helps you go into the studio prepared and ready to record?
My number 1 tip would be practice. Preparation for what you want to do in the studio is paramount to an easy studio experience. If you practice and nail down exactly what you want to do in the studio with these songs, it'll be night and day difference. If you go in there unprepared, you're going to waste time. You're not going to hit the fills you want. The tempos and playing to a click track, which is a preview of my next one, you're going to help yourself out tremendously, and it will help out everybody, the engineer, the other bandmates, the producer. If you're ready to go and you know exactly what you want and you've practiced it, it's going to be so smooth and easy.
So let's go into the click track bit, because that's something I was going to talk about too, which is learn to play to a click track.
Yep. I, for years, didn't play to a click track, and then when I got with you, I think it was like 2003, we recorded something, and you're like, we're going to play the click track, and I was just like deer in headlights, like, oh, what?
Yeah.
No way, I can't do that. Well, we kind of forced me to do that, and it's night and day, because you're on tempo, and later on you can fix something. You can use the programs to edit it if it's like metal or something, like a lot of hits and really fast.
It tends to make it. I mean, obviously depends on the kind of music you're recording.
Sure.
But for a lot of rock, indie rock, metal, that kind of stuff, it just tends to make it sound a lot more professional if the tempo is right on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're switching time signatures or something, you can try to work on that too with the click.
It doesn't take long to learn to play to a click.
No.
Like I started practicing with that. It didn't take long. It didn't take you long either at all. I mean, I think we did that in the studio, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And then so you learned to do that in the studio, which is not where you want to learn to do it.
No.
But it doesn't take long. Like once you really dial into the click, and once you do that too, it makes you a better drummer, because you start to understand like the tempo better and tempo in general better, and you can play much more solid even without a click after that.
Yeah.
And usually you try to do noise canceling headphones, because your drum sound and you're trying to hear the click. So you're gonna have to work on that to see what you can do to not get the bleed from the click into the microphones.
That is something that happens all the time. That's kind of a nightmare.
There's not an easy way to do that, but you'll have to work and see what the best way for you guys to do that.
Yeah. So go back in the studio and check your drum tracks and make sure that you're not hearing the click.
Yeah.
Especially during the cymbal ring outs and stuff. Really listen to that.
I used to have just terrible times with that, but I started using Audio-Technica close back headphones and solved the problem. So
I'm starting to get bad hearing, unfortunately, and so I'm always like, give me more click.
Yeah.
And then the engineer is really like,
probably pretty damaging to your ears too, because it's
that
sharp.
It's like bam, bam, bam,
sound.
and usually you want something that cuts through the cymbals.
Sure.
So you're talking like this piercing sound, and it's so it's bad.
Yeah.
One other tip that I have would be, this is a preference, smaller microphones. Because hitting the microphone is always a problem. But this one's probably not going to happen, because
I have a tip for you: learn to play around bigger microphones. I was honestly thinking, we've got all these Astons. I would love to put this one on the snare, one on the kick. I know it'd be like trying to get around that, but
it's the snare mic. It's the snare mic, and it's the top.
The tom mics are always the ones that take the most abuse.
Yeah.
So if you have access to smaller ones, or if that's a consideration, or whatever,
This goes into a tip that I wanted to talk about too, is make the drummer comfortable, because if they're not comfortable, they can't perform, and the performance is everything. Yep. So get them water, move their seat for them, help them set up their kit, just make them comfortable, make them happy.
Yeah, get them water, don't get them beer.
Yes. Well, I had an experience where
one beer.
Yeah, that helped the drummer loosen up.
Not more than certainly not more than two.
Only if you're 21 or older.
And they are too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, right.
So my last tip is, this might not work for you, but a lot of times it will. When the drummer freshly gets into a studio situation, they sit on the drums, and now they're ready to play, and then all of a sudden it's like, give me the kick drum. 5 minutes later, give me the snare drum. 5 minutes later, give me the floor tom. And for me, by that time, I'm just like, my creative juices are down. I'm just like, okay, are we done yet? And but now it's like, okay, you're ready to play. I'm like, I'm not ready to play. I'm like completely lost my
Bored.
my creative flow. So my suggestion is to take a break, maybe do that earlier in the day or something if possible, and come back when you're like ready to go. Because I think when I sit down right away, that's when I'm at my best. Like I'm ready to just like, oh, I'm totally want to do this. 12 takes down, you're into it, and you're just like, oh, I just want this over with. Like now I'm worried about everything, and did I do that right? And then the pressure's on. So to alleviate some of that, maybe try to take a break between the sound check.
So Jay, what's the one thing you notice between the sound check and the actual recording in the drum levels?
Oh, well, they change drastically, obviously, because the drummer...
Give me the snare.
Yeah.
Ting, ting. So you drive the preamp, and then all right, let's do it. Actually play. And then they turn into a gorilla.
Yeah.
So another thing is advise the drummer to
try
to hit it like he's going
like you're going to hit it, and it's hard. It's hard because you're in the moment. You got 4 limbs moving, and you're like, I don't know, like that's how I play. So you can't isolate one when you're trying to put in context all these other hands and motions. So it is hard, but that is the trick, I guess.
One thing I like to do is I just tell a drummer to warm up and play after all the mics are set up, so that way they can get creative, and then I can set all the levels while they're actually playing. So
yeah,
yeah, that works.
But this kind of thing is should be tailored to what you are comfortable with or used to, or what you want. But that's something I've noticed. It gets so boring when you're doing sound levels. And
this is my next tip is going to make this even harder on drummers, which is to move the mics around to get, rather than use EQ, move the mics around. I know one of your tips is don't use EQ if you're a beginner, right?
Well, just during tracking.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that, with the caveat that I like to mix my snare top and bottom mic together, so I do have to do some EQ at that point.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you're experienced with this and you know what you want at this point. But a lot of times people trick themselves.
If you're
with EQ.
starting out, just record the top and bottom separately. If you're gonna have 2 mics on there. Yeah. And speaking of EQ, another tip is if you want to get more of the snap out of the snare, one of the best things I've found, rather than doing lots of EQ, is really spend a lot of time working with the bottom snare mic, because you can get most of the way there with just bringing that bottom snare mic up perfectly, and then doing a little compression and a little EQ.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys got any other?
Okay, yeah, move the mics around. I didn't really talk about that. Just moving the mics around, even just a little bit, does a ton to EQ the actual drum. Yeah. And rather than cranking on your EQs, which do all kinds of bad things to phasing and to the actual quality of the signal, because that's just inherent in EQs. That's what they do. They create phase problems. Is just go in there and just slowly move the mic around. If you got a drummer who's on board with this,
who's very patient,
you've got some cool drummers, and then you got some people like Tay who are like, no. But if you got somebody who really is into the process, you can have them kind of move the mics around a little bit for you.
Mm-hmm. I don't like to do that.
He's insulted.
I wouldn't trust. Like, I love recording drummers, but I wouldn't trust anybody to move the mics for me because I know what I want.
That's true.
I would. It depends. It depends.
Yeah,
it
depends. Like if you're like move it back.
It depends
2
how
inches,
much time you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, move it back 2 inches, then you trust that person to do that. Well, I moved it back 2 inches. Then you should be good.
But honestly, as far as like mic positioning goes, just aim at the center of the drum, like 2 to 3 inches up, like probably 2, and that's where the tone is, right at the center. And you want a little bit of space, so that sounds good right there.
Okay.
There's your go-to mic position.
Sure.
I feel like we could talk about this all day.
We could.
So maybe we'll come back with like a part 2
more
sometime.
specific tips and tricks.
Yeah, like I know we did quite a range here between really beginner stuff and like advanced stuff. So I like that. So maybe we'll do another part 2 where we get into more stuff, because this is great. We're passionate about it.
I love talking about like recording drums. It's my favorite thing to record, probably.
Dude, me too.
I just love recording drums.
Why?
I just love it's the most fun thing to compress. I like recording drums and vocals. Those are my 2 favorite things because they're the most fun things to compress.
Yeah.
So it comes down to compression. Right there. So it comes down to compression.
It does. I love compression. So
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get.
And we didn't even really talk about compression.
No.
That's like probably a little bit more advanced.
Yeah,
But
that's part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a part 2.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to subscribe below and give us any feedback or comments or questions. We greatly appreciate it. So, thanks, and we'll see you next time around the drum. Today we've got a little talk about drum. And today we're going to be talking about some drumming. We're going to be talking about some drumming, recording microphones.
Well, now what? How do you lead it? How do we lead into that naturally into what we just said?
That doesn't make sense.
Say,
Hey guys, welcome back around the drum. This is Unfiltered.
I'm laughing through the whole thing. You gotta wait for me to stop laughing at least. Okay.